Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Hello, and welcome back to Conversations in Between the Realms. I'm Amanda Nova, and I am here, as always, with the lovely Beth Renov, and we are ready and rearing to go today, which is not usual, actually.
No.
I feel like we're usually dying. So I don't know if we're in a good timeline or I don't know, we're just high on the fumes of the universe or what's going on. How are you doing? I think you're doing good today, right?
I have energy. I actually slept last night. I slept a lot. Yeah, I've been noticing the new moon every time it's coming. It hits me almost like a week before. And it used to be like 2 to 3 days, but now I'm feeling it like the insomnia and that kind of stuff before. So I think now that I like recognized it, like that clicked in my head and I was able to I was also just so tired, but I slept last night and in a better mood. I'm not cranky. So that's good.
Yeah. I'm noticing too with both of us, I'm noticing just the way that we are, both of us, in response to the moon cycles and our cycles. Because you right now, because I'm paying attention to myself more closely recently, and I was thinking about you too, because we spoke yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was like, Beth has like a lot of energy right now. We're kind of like giggling, and I'm like, okay, you're in like your ovulation period, and I can tell because that's when you have the most energy, like when you're in a good space, and I'm the same way. And then it's like, when we start getting into that like space of like the luteal phase, which is like then going into like you're about to get your periods. It's like both of us go into these like dark places where we don't want to speak to anybody, like horrible PMS for like 2 weeks. It's like really not a good month. Really.
Sorry.
It's only like a good week.
Yes, it's terrible. And I think it's hard because what are you going to do about it? Like, there are things. I actually had a conversation with a client who's like, I definitely have PMDD, and it's hard. There's only so much you could do. Food definitely affects it. Kind of like all the stuff you're going to talk about with what you're going to do, like the liminal body method. Is that what you're calling it now? I forget.
Yes, I am. The liminal body method. And I think that that's a piece that's going to be in there too, is like about how you can cycle with your cycle. Because I think women cycle even without their cycle. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. So I just think there are things you can do, but it's just like it affects you and you have to do the best you can. And like, there's a part of accepting, like, maybe you're going to be a little bit lower, like they're your hormones, and I think there's definitely stuff you can take, but I think there's just an acceptance piece of like, this is what I go through. So how can I work best around it and take advantage of like when I am in like a high energy, high productivity, good mood kind of phase, right? So I like always like, I'll start walking like 5 miles a day in this phase. I will be really social. I'll be really happy and like be really creative. And then I go into this like slump, and it is what it is right now. I'm not going to like rack my brain trying to like change that, Yeah.
Well, you can change it. And that's the whole thing. And I think it's kind of like, the way that I look at it is like, yeah, you can do things, but there's no changing that cycle, like you said. So it's like more of an awareness. And what I wish and what I would love to see in the world, and I think, we can be more of the start of this because we're entrepreneurs or when we're in businesses and like, can kind of create this. But like, I would love to see more women with the ability to build their life around that type of cycle where it's like, okay, if you're building your own business and you're like, okay, maybe the best time to be on camera, to be launching, to be
Mm-hmm.
creating content is the ovulation period, then maybe that's when you are preparing a launch, or, you're doing something like that. And then maybe you pare back, and you maybe during your week prior to your period,
Right.
maybe you're then doing less. Like if you can kind of, have some rest days, figure that out in a way, then your life essentially flows with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that easy. It's easier said than done. Like it would be beautiful if things could be that way. But
Right.
unfortunately, a lot of people go in and they work a 9 to 5, 6, 7,
Right.
8 job, and you don't get to take a day off because you feel like absolute shit. Like, I mean,
Right.
my period, first of all, I think I have PMDD sometimes too. Like, I mean, my symptoms this month started on the 2nd. I didn't get my period until let's see, I got it a couple days ago. So, I mean, that's a long period of time.
Yeah.
And and then when I get it, I get knocked out.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm fortunate. I mean, I have to be a mom and I have things I have to do, but I'm fortunate I don't have to go into an office
Right.
and have terrible cramps and deal with all of that. And I would just love to see like a world in which like women were able to do that, because back in the day, they used to worship women and worship around the sacred time of women's period, like the red tent and all of those things.
Wow. We have a long way to go for that. They need to start figuring out women's bodies first, like
It's true.
they just know nothing about it. They know everything about a
Yeah.
man's body and they know nothing about a woman's. And that sucks,
True.
you know?
Yeah.
But one thing is, if you do work for yourself, like I don't necessarily like build my business around it, but I build my business. And I think this is because I had chronic illness. It's like I need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to rest during the day and not be go, go, go. So I plan my sessions where I have is 3 in a row, then I have a break, and then I go
Mm-hmm.
again, and that is so much more manageable. And now that like my chronic illness symptoms have like really lifted, I don't, knock on wood, that they're almost non-existent now, it for that luteal phase. And mine's like
Yeah.
I'll get like moody like probably for 2 weeks, but it doesn't affect my work because I can turn it off, and it's
Right.
mostly towards Lauren, unfortunately. But
Yeah, like it's like
you
the
know
irritability starts like
right,
early,
right,
and the like don't touch me, don't be near
right.
me.
Exactly. But then, when I'm really knocked out, like I have days where I have a dead day once a week where I
Mhm.
just don't do anything, and or I do as little as possible and have the rest of the day to just lay there, watch TV and recharge. But on days like where I have to work, I'm like, okay, great. I have that hour or two between my next sessions. I'm really gonna relax. And if I have to take a nap, I'm going to take a nap. But, not everybody is lucky enough to like do that. And a lot of people don't want to be entrepreneurs, right?
Right,
So,
right.
it's just, but maybe that's where you utilize a mental health day or a sick day,
Mhm. Yeah.
and do
Yeah,
that.
it's about yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
No,
to cut
that's
you
it.
off there.
No, no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember if it was you that told me this, it probably was, but like years ago when I started working for myself, one of the best things that I did was setting like almost like bookend days of like setting
Yes.
every week the days that I don't have calls, I don't have people. And
Right.
I still do that. Like Mondays
Yes.
and Fridays, I'm not as good at keeping it as I used to be. But I think now that's because I have more of an understanding of myself and my schedule. Like I
Hmm.
can kind of give it to myself more. But like I still set my schedule where I don't take clients on Mondays or Fridays.
Hmm.
And I don't take calls on Mondays or Fridays. Mondays is my day that I get organized. I recover from the weekend. A lot of times I work on the weekend on Sundays. So I need Monday to kind of like put my life together. And I don't like to work on Fridays. I didn't take class on Fridays in college. I don't like to work on
Yeah, me
Fridays.
either.
Like
Ever.
Fridays is not as a weekend day to me. It's
Right.
like I'm not doing that. So I think like stuff like that, you kind of have the ability to, yes, like build your life in your own way. And I get it. You don't have that, when you work for somebody else. And I think it's like, how can you, I guess, figure out how to do that in different ways, and maybe just be kind to yourself instead of pressuring yourself to be super productive when your body and your mind just can't. Like if you're brain foggy, like you just don't force yourself, I guess, is the other
No.
side of that.
Right. And like one thing like my therapist said to me cuz she had her own practice, she's like, "Do not set up your practice in a way that's not going to work for you in 5 years. Whatever you want it to be in 5 years, set it up now." And that was like the best advice I ever got, because I would have run myself into the ground and just not had a practice. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have therapy clients on Thursdays or Fridays. I'm like, I just can't do it. I'll have these kind of clients. It's great. It's just so different. Um,
Yeah.
but I will not have them. Like maybe occasionally I'll take a Thursday, but I'm the opposite. I like stack my clients on Monday. I have the most clients.
Oh,
Tuesday,
really? You
about the
started your week
same.
and then you kind
I
of
want to be
like,
done. I'm a
yeah,
bulldozer, and that is like my
yeah,
true nature. So I want to bulldoze in the beginning of the week, and then by the end, I'm like, good. Like I don't
you're
have a
out,
lot
you're
to do.
done. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's knowing yourself and
Right.
knowing your schedule and like the way that you work. Like some people work better in the afternoon and they need to take all their
Right.
calls in the afternoon. Like I am somebody that has to get all my stuff done in the morning. I am
Yeah.
absolutely done at the end of the day. Now, once I had Aria, my schedule changed, right? So like I now do work at night and I never was able to do that before, but now I don't have a choice, right? But like it's like, things just have to work for you. And we weren't planning to talk about this, but I do think it segues into what we
Yeah.
were going to talk about because we wanted to talk about mental health and we wanted to talk about neurodivergence and talk about oversensitivity and nervous system dysregulation and the way that it impacts spirituality and intuition. And I think that this has a lot to do with it because, if you have a chronic illness or a mental health condition or your nervous system is shot, you often feel super duper overwhelmed from all the sensory things that are going on. And like when you're in that place, in that like cycle of that place, like you feel like the world is caving in on you and
Hmm.
that you feel disconnected from your spirituality in that time, but you're probably almost like more connected than ever when that's happening because you're just getting everything all at once.
Because you're so sensitive. I have to think being sensitive is the sign of being spiritually connected, you know? Um, but it's really overstimulation. It's like you're getting all these things at once and you're like, this is too much for me. My nervous system's sensitive, and this like body, this vessel is really sensitive, and it's probably because not only are you getting whatever's in your environment, you're getting messages too. You're getting
Right.
downloads, so it's just like, whoa, can we like slow this
Yeah.
down a bit?
Yeah, I feel like the more that we open ourselves up to receiving, and it's like too, like I think this is kind of just coming through right now, but I'm also thinking that like when people have these huge awakenings that maybe aren't fully supported in the right way, and then they have psychosis, they have all these things go on and they totally like lose it, right? I feel like a lot of times that's because they open all these new pathways for all of these messages, all of these new energies, all of these new things to come in. And because they aren't having the right filtering systems in place, the right protections in place, so all of that coming in at once is so overwhelming. And I feel like people really do kind of lose their minds because if you don't have a calm nervous system, if you're not grounded, opening up your intuition in that way can really cause you to go off the map. I mean, we've all felt that at some point in
Right.
time.
Well, I think with the psychosis, it's beyond intuition that you're opening up. I think you're opening
Yeah.
up all your gifts at once, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like having an avalanche versus like a drip, and
Mhm.
it's just like nobody's body could take that. But think
Yeah.
about when we've had spiritual awakenings and gone through the dark night of the soul. We felt crazy.
Yeah.
You feel unhinged. You don't feel right. You don't feel right in your body. You don't feel mentally stable. You feel sometimes depressed. You feel
Mhm.
really anxious. And that is because your nervous system needs to recalibrate for this timeline you're stepping into,
Right.
and I don't necessarily think these people are always predispositioned for that. It's just
Right.
like maybe it opened up too much versus like this much.
Right. Right. And I do think it should happen slowly. And I think the predisposition, as I've been looking into this more and more, trying to understand why so many people, and we meet a lot of people that are gifted, intuitively gifted. And I think both of us believe that everybody has the ability to be
Yeah.
intuitive, right?
Yes.
But I'm talking about people who are extra sensitive, extra like who are in tune with it in a way that's like it's on, right? And we meet a lot of those people because those are our clients. We know people, right? Okay, so why are so many of them neurodivergent? We're talking ADHD, on the spectrum. Why are so many of them dealing with anxiety, depression? We have a lot of people because both of us have been in the chronic illness industry. Like why? And
Chronic illness is a lot.
chronic illness. All I think most of the people that
Yeah.
work within spirituality. So why is that? And so we've both kind of been we have been talking about this and kind of playing with it a little bit. And one of the things I think is so fascinating is that the predisposition is actually the sensitivity. Because if you're somebody whose brain works in different ways, right? So, like somebody who's neurodivergent, it's because their brain works in different ways. So they're picking up on different things at the same time, right? Because somebody who has ADHD is picking up on this over here and that over there, right? So they're already predispositioned to pick up on those subtleties that are coming in. So that is already then putting that, like giving them the ability to connect, right? Because it is kind of like a picking up. You're really able to kind of like go
Yeah.
beyond the veil to pick up. So I think that's really interesting. The chronic illness piece I think is more of a path thing.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I think that's just something because you hold so much your body can, and it's us learning how to
Yeah.
take care of the body. I don't know that that's a predisposition, but it does have a lot to do with trauma. And I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if it's like your past life, your ancestral, and then sometimes vicarious. Like we talk about a lot of traumatic stuff. And I think it's just like an intense amount of energy coming into your body constantly that
Mm-hmm.
it creates a dis-ease.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's that. But what I was picking up when you were talking is there's something genetic about the neurodivergence, and the
Mhm.
sensitivity. And it feels very ancestral because it is, I think, in your DNA. I think it's a genetic, like if your gene is expressed or not, right? And how, and it feels very spiritual while I'm saying it. And I can't exactly explain it, but I'm seeing this, how I see ancestral is like always either a gold film or a gold string. And it's showing me these little like dots in it. And it feels something genetic and ancestral of why it's passed down, and it feels very like other earthly. So not
Right.
that we came from outer space, but maybe it
We
has
did.
some. Yes, we did. But there is something. There's something there. Also, why do your zodiac signs often like really connect to that? Like, there's some like
Right.
giant web of what's going on that it's
Yeah.
it's genetic, but it's also astrological. It's also like it could be a past life, but it has to be connected to that celestial thing.
Well, I think it's your cosmic DNA. Like I think
Right.
that this comes back to, if you've listened to our earlier episodes from a year ago, this comes back to the creation and the
Hmm.
cosmic DNA. And this is something that I do when I work with people. And this is why I tell people often that their gifts become enhanced, opened after they have these activation sessions, because you're activating the sleeping DNA that is a part of our cosmic DNA footprint that we have already. It's already a part of our light body. Okay.
Hmm.
It's there already. We're turning it on. That DNA gives us the ability to access these gifts quicker. So if we were always living with that DNA, because think about how much DNA that in right now, like biology scientists, they don't know what it is. They call it junk DNA. They don't even know
Mhm.
what it does. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're activating this cosmic DNA, and this cosmic DNA, once turned on, we then have the ability to have telepathy, right? To receive messages, to do all of these things that as a spiritual being were just innately happening, right? So like if we were on another frequency, another pathway, I know this is like, getting a little woo-woo, but like we would just be doing, right? But now we're in a human body and those are turned off. And so now we don't remember who we truly are, which
Right.
is that fully being lit. And so now we're taking these steps to remember. So the remembrance is lighting up that cosmic DNA to light up those gifts. And we already have them within us. And I think, it's like anything else. I mean, some people have genes that are more predisposed for something than others who
Right.
are more some are on and some are off, and it's just that's what I think. And some look a certain way, like some come from Europe and some come from Asia, you know what I mean? Like I just think that it's
Right.
just based on the soul.
Yeah, and I think you said something that like light bulb went off is like, yeah, neurodivergence are activated. you know? And that is why, because it's like this stuff is going on. It's just neurotypical people. I'm not saying no one, but a neurodivergent brain already sees it. The
Mm-hmm.
neurotypical has to activate or really work at
Mm-hmm.
noticing. But it's there. It's just they see it versus you don't.
Exactly. And something that came into me channeled a couple years ago that it just came to mind right now was that there's all these pathways that we have in our brain and we still don't know, just like the genes, we don't know anything about what's going on in the brain. I mean, they don't know anything about the brain really, right? Like
Yeah. Like
90% of the brain they
20.
don't know
Yeah.
about, right?
I think like
So
20% they know. But I don't even
yeah,
know what extent to the 20% that they do.
yeah.
But the 20% is a lot. It's just there's a lot they don't fully
There's a
understand.
lot that they don't understand, and there's all these pathways, right? And so I remember I was channeling through for this book still that I'm putting together, right? Like this is how long ago this all started, and what I was getting from the guides was that we have all these pathways and they are not all functioning, and
Mhm.
as we open them, that's how we receive more and more information. And so to your point, a neurodivergent person has more of those pathways
Mhm.
open, so they're seeing more. And and what I also think about is having my seizure, what had come through was that I had opened a new pathway, so that I was able to then channel in a different way, to be able to look at things differently, to be able to receive different information. And people who are not neurotypical already have some of those pathways open that maybe, neurotypical people don't. So I think
Yeah,
that's definitely.
right. And it's just whether like you can see it or not. It's almost like a colorblind person. Like neurotypical or
Yeah.
colorblind and neurodivergent can see the color.
Yeah.
It's there. It's just
Yeah.
one person can and can't, and it would be I don't know if you can reverse color blindness, but it'd be like if it's activated, you can see it. And maybe some people who are neurotypical can see it, but maybe they've had the like intentional activation.
Right. And it's kind of interesting to sort of like turn a lot of these things on their heads, because there's things happening physically and medically that I'm not going to sit here and say these things aren't happening, but like if we look at things from an energetic perspective, like let's take anxiety. Like anxiety from an energetic perspective is an overabundance of energy stuck in the body. It's swirling and swirling and swirling and it has nowhere to go. But from a medical perspective, we see somebody struggling with anxiety, they're not ever going to say that to you. They're not going to say you need to get it out, move it through, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to say, let's give you a pill to make it feel better. On the other side of that, if you're somebody who's really, really struggling with anxiety and you can't function, that pill can help you to function. So like you kind of get
Right.
caught in this this web that we've created here with medicine, but it's also like there are energetic causes behind some of these mental health conditions that I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it's kind of like a catch-22 a little bit for me.
Well,
I
I think,
struggle with it.
yeah, I don't know, because in a way, like, you can like reduce anxiety without medication, and the way it is reframing or using CBT, which is a way to get the energy out in a way, because it's even words and thoughts are energy,
Speaking. Yeah.
right? And thoughts, they're energy, right? So if you reframe it, you're doing something to the energy, but I don't think we explain it in that way. And also they're now understanding more of the medical side, like to your point, often anxiety is hand in hand with inflammation, either of the gut or the brain. So what does that say? Is energy stuck and it's expanding and
Yeah.
protecting you in the body. How do we get that out and reduce the inflammation? Is getting the energy out in my head,
Yeah.
I think they just didn't understand that before. I don't know how much research was done in like the 80s on the physical effects. Like, why does anxiety manifest from this? Why does depression? Well, like 90% of your neurotransmitters are in your gut, so that like makes total
Mhm.
sense, right?
Yeah.
But so I think that it's just how we explain it. And I like literally just took another continuing ed where half of people don't take medication, half of people don't think therapy works because they don't understand. And if we did a better job of understanding that connection, maybe it
Right.
would. And I think we are leaning, at least in my field, towards bringing in the energy work, towards bringing in that like metaphysical and spiritual like piece of it. So I
Right.
think it is going to be really combined and interwoven soon,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is good. This is positive. This is progress.
Yeah. And it needs to be because, as somebody who has had physical issues, has had mental health issues, has been run through the gamut. Both of us have been run through the gamut. And I kind of want
Yeah.
to say that too, of like having this conversation and speaking objectively about these things. Like we both have lived through these things and lived through these things. So like I feel like talking about it to me, it's like, it, it's really hits close to home because like we're living these things and I feel like the combination of looking at the physical and looking at the energetic is so important because if you're not, something is missing. And we were just having this conversation a couple of days ago about my neck. I woke up, I was having a stiff neck, and I was telling you, like, I could look at it just energetically and I can say, okay, there's all these things going on, right? Maybe I feel like, really stressed out. There were energetic things happening in the atmosphere. But then from a physical perspective, that is alerting of different things that could be happening. It could be a flare up of Bartonella. It could be
Mm-hmm.
adrenal fatigue. Like there's things going on. Or, you could get hit with something and like you slept wrong and it like cricked,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
there's all these things going on. And the treatment needs to be that as well. Like it's not one or the other. Like doing an activation is not going to heal a broken leg, but
Right.
you can, do the physical healing with that and then the energetic piece to support. They need to go hand in hand. The energetic piece helps to not store the trauma that broken leg potentially will store in that area that will cause you trouble down the line, right? So there's like
Right.
they need to be hand in hand. And I would love to see the world of medicine going there. Like
Yeah.
that would be everything because that it's what's needed.
Well, what's interesting is that how medicine used to be, like that was medicine, and then
Right.
it's like they did one or the other. Then we did Western medicine and it had nothing in that. And I think there is a fusion coming. I went to an integrative doctor for so long, she didn't necessarily do spiritual stuff, but she looked at things in a different way. So I think it is going more and more towards that, where it's like, why did we abandon something that was used for thousands of years? Yes,
Right.
medicine is deeply important. Like You know, like we need it. You know,
Right.
it's not an if it works. It's just, it's not the end all be all either. And to your point, an activation or like doing therapy is the perspective shift. And that's what gets you through something,
Mhm.
because that will change your life. And they're saying yoga, like I just took, like one of my classes is like yoga, meditation. It does something for you. It does
Mhm.
heal you. Like there is
Yeah.
evidence
Yeah.
in black and white that it does something, and there's nothing more spiritual than that, you know?
Yeah. Well, and think about why. You're connecting to your breath when you do yoga
Right.
and you're moving your body. So you are
Right.
moving the energy, connecting it to the breath. I mean, and the breath is everything. I
Right.
mean, that's really everything, right? That's centering you and aligning you and everything. I mean, at the center of all disease and everything is misalignment. It's dis-ease within the body. It's this misalignment. And I feel like that's, and playing it both ways. Like I think the neurodivergence like is so often looked at negatively, and what I wanted to kind of provide to those who might have that within this conversation is like looking at it as a gift instead of looking at it
Yeah.
as a negative. It's not always something that needs to be fixed. It's looking at it and saying, hey, maybe my brain does work differently, but it's not something that needs to be fixed. It's the reframe of, wow, like that means that I am a little bit more intuitive. And maybe when you're having that overwhelm and all the stuff is coming in at the same time, maybe that's then where you pull on those tools of, trying to maybe
Right.
use the golden egg or trying to just calm down or close some of the pathways to try to help yourself in that moment.
Right. And look at, because I think what happened was it really, I think, started in schools because they couldn't teach kids the same way. They had expectations of them that were just unrealistic. You know, it
Yeah.
just means your brain works in a different way, not a worse way, sometimes better, you know?
Hmm.
So, but it's just not neurotypical, which is such a stupid word anyway, because it's not typical. It's just how many people are.
I feel like most
But
people are
even,
neurodivergent
I was
these
gonna
days.
say, but
Like,
I
nobody's
think
normal.
that's only a mistake because they didn't have the diagnostic tools
Yeah.
to really see that. But you know, and even if it's not, it just means here's the way you think, here's the way I think. Neither are better. It's just we didn't accommodate you. And that's why you felt less than. That's why you were a problem.
Right.
That's why you didn't fit in, and that can make you feel less than. But there are many benefits to both, right? It's not a better, but I remember working with kids with dyslexia. And it's like, let's look at all the people who really, like, you get a lot of benefits out of it because you work
Hmm.
really hard. You have to train your brain in a different way. You're really disciplined. You know, there are many successful people who've overcome it. And then you have this inspiring story for other people. You can
Hmm.
become a role model.
Right.
Perfectionism. You can look at it as all bad, but there's a lot of good to it. It's just reframing of like, what good comes from this, right?
Right. Yeah. And I also think the other thing too is like, you know, the way that the media and the way that it's portrayed is also not 100% correct. And I think that that's also
Yes.
why it's hurt so many of us. And I think especially going back to the first statement that you made about women is like it, because of that I think women have also really suffered
Yeah.
because we haven't looked at how these things maybe are portrayed in women. I saw something recently about ADHD, about how the treatment of ADHD and the personification of that is a 10-year-old hyper boy.
I think it's like a
Or
six year old boy, like something
yeah,
like that. And
I
it's a
mean,
child, first of all, and they
yeah,
never did studies beyond that. So it's not even like just women, adult men
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
It's just personified, and it's only ADHD. It wasn't even ADD.
Right, right. Which I truly, truly don't know the difference. I just thought
Yeah.
we stopped calling it ADD. Like, I will be completely honest. I didn't know that there's a
One's
difference.
hyperactive. One's hyperactive, one's not. So it's like hyperactive is like constantly talking, um like switching from things, like tons of energy, can't sit still. and the other is just like the attention deficit without the hyperactivity.
Okay. Okay. I understand that because that's another thing. It was
Yeah,
there was only ADD back in the day.
right.
I mean, we didn't
Um,
know.
there was ADHD, but again, it was based on this boy, right?
Right.
Like, or 6 to 8 year old boy or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
But it did no one favors, and it looks very different in women and adult women. First of all, it looks different between girls and boys who are young. It looks different between adults and children, and then it looks different in adult women and men.
Right. Right. Exactly. And so I think all of these things have really done an injustice of what these things actually look like. And I think because of that, I think a lot of people have struggled and to not understand what's going on with them. I think a lot of people have struggled to feel crazy, to feel overwhelmed, to just all of these things. I mean, there's just so much of that. And I just think wherever we can have these conversations and bring light to it. And it's the same thing in the chronic illness world. I mean, the Lyme studies and all of these different things with chronic illness of just none of them being done. And then, you go for years and years without knowing what's
Right,
going on.
right.
So, I mean, just having these conversations, I think, are helpful. And, I just hope that we've
Yeah.
brought some light.
And for the sensitive people, because it's not necessarily a neurodivergence
Yeah.
or a chronic illness,
HSP.
highly sensitive people or person. Listen, it is your nervous system is a little more attuned. I think you're highly intuitive, and I think that's really what at the basis of what a highly sensitive person is like you just
Yeah.
pick up on everything. And listen, there's a difference between being sensitive to the point where you are dysregulated and fall apart because of you hear criticism or you know like you don't have enough like your ego is so fragile that you can't handle things. That's not what a highly sensitive
Really
person.
highly emotional person versus a highly sensitive person, right? Like, because sensitive
Well,
is like,
no, because it's emotional doesn't mean your ego is fragile, right? It's just
yeah,
I think when people say you're so sensitive, it's first of all put down as it's a put down. And there's
yeah,
a difference between being so, and it has to do something more with developmental stuff, and I'm sure there's a diagnosis beyond just being that sensitive, but that's not what they're talking about. If you can't take criticism, that's not a good thing. You need to learn to, and you need to learn to understand that that doesn't mean it's all of who you are, right? And we need criticism, it's part of it. But when you're highly sensitive, where you don't like what someone's doing, boundaries are important. That is not the same thing. And often it's used as a put down to be like, to take advantage of you, to bulldoze your boundaries. And I think a highly sensitive person often has that where they're like, this doesn't feel good because you're so tuned into the energy
yeah,
and you realize someone's taking advantage of you. You realize someone isn't treating you right. So a lot of people who are highly sensitive don't have good boundaries. But that's really different than not taking criticism, right?
right.
Um, but I think it's on an energetic basis. You're really sensitive to energies. You pick up on things. You notice when things are off.
Yeah,
And
sounds,
sounds. I think
smells. Yeah.
often they're people pleasers, you know.
I feel
Sounds
like,
familiar.
first of all, with this criticism thing and this people pleasing thing, I feel victimized.
Listen,
Excuse
like
me.
we need I'm not great at taking criticism. I don't know anybody who really is. But that's a sensitivity where you have to strengthen your ego, right?
Yeah,
That's about ego.
yeah,
When it's just like I'm really sensitive, like I don't like when Lauren says certain things. Like I don't like her talking about my food or my body because it is something I'm sensitive about.
right.
But I'm like I'm working on it. Like it's not like you're saying, Beth, you could do this better. And I'm like, fuck you. It's more like,
But it's a
right.
sensitivity. Like when we say highly sensitive person, we're talking more about environmentally sensitive, more
Mm-hmm.
physically sensitive. Like I think like
Energetically. Yeah.
energetically, like I think like I consider myself a highly sensitive person. Like
Me too.
I die when I go into public arenas. Like if I go to a
Yes.
concert, I am
Oh,
losing my
awful.
fucking mind. I want to rip
Yeah.
my skin off. Like I don't even like to go to the
No.
grocery store. But we were just talking about this the
Yeah.
other day, and I was telling you how like I was talking to my dad about something, and he slid up next to me, and he was sitting directly
Yeah.
next to me, and
Like,
I was literally like, I was like,
yeah.
get away from me, get away from me. I think so. It's like, and those people are sensitive to smells, to tastes, to sounds, to like
They're
even your skin is
overstimulated.
sensitive. Yeah, you just everything stimulates you, and
Right.
that's also just an overstimulated nervous system too.
Right. But I will say, like, for me, it depends on like the concert. It depends on the process. Like, if it's a really chaotic process to get in, I'm feeling everybody's frustration and
Yeah,
the energy and picking up on mood.
yeah,
But the minute you're in there and there's this sense of like unity and happiness and
yeah.
like
You feel a different
music.
energy. Yeah,
Right. So it's almost worth it, but I hate the process of getting there,
yeah,
because I do pick up and I get overstimulated by hearing everything. People screaming, people stomping, the footsteps, like the, smells. I'm just like, holy crap. Like
yeah,
I feel like I like get a panic attack.
yeah, yeah. And what's so funny is like, I have this thing. Rob always laughs at me, but anytime we're anywhere and people clap collectively, I
Oh yeah.
cry.
Really?
I I cry whenever people clap collectively. It is the weirdest thing, but it
Wow.
wells me up. It's a very strange thing. I don't know
Like a
what that
good
is.
cry?
Yeah, I just get really emotional. Like I get this like welling up and I start to cry.
Yeah.
And it's like it's actually kind of embarrassing because I can't help it and we'll be public places and I like start to cry.
Aw.
Like
It's
with
like
a
kind of
birthday
sweet.
party or like somebody like when people like yell surprise or like people like do something together as a group, like sing a song or something, I start crying. It's actually really weird.
It's so weird. I feel like I'm getting like collective memory. That's always like for a
It's
good thing
weird,
if you're
right?
clapping. So it's like this sense of pride, like
It's
it's
so
definitely from
weird.
like your childhood too, but yeah, I'm getting
Yeah.
collective for some reason.
Yeah,
But
it's an interesting thing, but yeah,
I'm like
I
that too though, but not like to
yeah,
that degree. But I get
yeah,
like
it's like
really like proud of people and I'm like, "Oh my god," and start crying over. Yeah.
yeah, but you're feeling everybody's stuff. And I think, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, the best thing that you could do if this has hit home for you, is really take care of your nervous system and do grounding and do meditation and do breath work and protect your energy because that's really the stuff that helps. And I've been finding for myself that like in the moment taking a breath because I really have to because I am so overstimulated, especially with Arya, and she's been wearing these click clacky heels lately, and I will be overstimulated, and all I hear is click clack 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 clack, clack, and I'm like, I'm like about
Yeah.
to like lose it, and I'm just like, I take a second, and I just take a breath, or I put on my noise canceling
I was just
headphones
gonna
for a
say put on
minute,
headphones. Yeah. Well,
and
and
yeah.
like sound sensitivity is very common for neurodivergent people.
Yeah, the sounds get me really, really bad. And my headphones and earplugs and all of that stuff or I walk into another room. Like I take
Mhm.
myself out of the equation and that can really help. And so if that is, if that's something that you're dealing with, I mean, that's really the best help that I can give is to kind of just eliminate it.
Right. Calm your nervous system down in whatever ways are good for you, and learn the different ways that like you have to figure out what ways are good for you. Working with a therapist, working with one of us, is really helpful. And I failed to point this out this episode, which has nothing to do with this. It's our 50th episode.
What?
Yeah.
50?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I feel like we should have gotten like a cake or something.
I know. And eaten it in our respective homes.
Yeah, we each could have had one. We each could
I
have had a
know.
cake. Yours could have been 5 and mine could have been 0. We could have held it up. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, that would have been cute.
Oh my God. Damn. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. But
Oh, yeah. Thank you,
uh,
everybody.
yeah, thank you for listening and keeping us doing this. Um, and again, if you want to work with us, you know where to find us. And we'll see you next episode.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you.